Alright, here I am on the Tiffin Avenue railroad crossing in Findlay, Ohio. So this right here is a rather neat crossing owned by the CSX Toledo Terminal subdivision, and it's a little ways outside of Fostoria, Ohio. And even though this line is not as active as, like, let's say the Willard sub, but this line has some really neat crossings that I thought I would show y'all today. So yeah, so I decided to come down here with the boys for a bit and check out some crossings and hopefully catch something. So I guess with that said, I'll explain the interesting equipment as I go on here. So with that said, let's get on to it. So for the first signal, this has a Western Colin Hayes cantilever with the patent pending badge. Or this could be a Western Colin Hayes or a federal signal cantilever. And here's the emergency information, and the dot tag and the dot number is 513706R. And there isn't actually, well, there is a crossbuck up there, and the weird part is that the old crossbuck is completely faded and they slapped a new one over it, which is quite weird how they, slapped one over it. And this signal has no mast lights on it, but for the overhead lights, this has one pair of WRRS 8-inch lights and one pair of GRS 8-inch lights, as you can see, if it'll focus. Yep. And these are all sitting on a WRRS light bracket. Yep. And for a gate mechanism, this has a SafeTran gate mechanism, 90s generation, sitting on a GRS base, which I believe this replaced a GRS gate mechanism in the past, and with some Rico LED gate lights and a wind guard on this really, really tall mast. Even though this mast has been here for a while, but I think they added an extension to it and another wind guard at the top. So this mast has two wind guards on it. Quite neat. And for a bell, this has an NEG electronic bell, which is slapped right on the side of this pole. As you can see, they took like an old light bracket and fabricated a bracket for the bell and bolted it on. Pretty neat stuff. And I really do like the style of these cantilevers. These cantilevers right here might be my favorite style of railroad crossing cantilever. So yeah, with all that said, was the first signal. Now let's go on to the next, which is kind of similar to the first. So for this one, this has another Western Colin Hayes cantilever, and this signal has no emergency information on it or no dot tag. And for the mast lights, this has one pair of SafeTran 8-inch lights sitting on a SafeTran light bracket, and these point towards Factory Street since these are just a pair of side lights. Yep. And for the overhead lights, this has one pair of Western Colin Hayes 8-inch lights and one pair of SafeTran 8-inch lights. All incandescent, by the way, if you're wondering. And these are all sitting on a Wabco light bracket. Hold on, let me step back for this truck. So as you can see, yeah, and this is actually a Union Switch and Wabco light bracket. Quite neat to see. And this signal has no bell on it whatsoever. So yeah, and no gate mechanism since it's a side signal. So yeah, I guess with that said, let's go ahead and cross the road here and be careful while doing it. So yeah, with that said, here is the final signal of the three. So for this last one, this has another Western Colin Hayes or federal signal drop arm style cantilever, as you can see. And here's the emergency information once again. And for the gate mechanism, this has another SafeTran gate mechanism. This one is like the early 2000s generation, I believe, sitting on another GRS base, most likely replacing another GRS gate mechanism in the past. And also another thing worth mentioning, that NEG electronic bell over there replaced a WRRS mechanical bell sometime in 2018, 2019. But yeah, and this features some NEG LED gate lights and a wind guard that looks like has been recently put into place. But yeah, and for the lights on this one, this has two pairs of Western Colin Hayes 8-inch lights and one pair of WRS 8-inch lights. As you see, WRS 8-inch lights are also pointing towards southbound Factory Street, as you can see. And these are all sitting on WRS light brackets. Yep. And for the overhead lights, this has two more pairs of WRS 8-inch lights, all incandescent. I believe also sitting on a WRS light bracket if I step back. Yep, WRS. And this signal has no bell on it as well. So yeah, right here, this is Tiffin Avenue, which is a really neat setup. I really like this crossing. So it's Tiffin Avenue. Here's the relay case, as you can see over there. So yeah. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the track view. Down there is heading north towards a bridge, as you can see, a trestle bridge. And there's another crossing right there pointing towards Cherry Street and eventually towards Walnut Street. And you can see that this crossing over here is completely bell-less. Also used to have Wabco gate mechanisms, but all that stuff was replaced, sadly. And down there is heading south towards Walnut. I think this is Walnut Street. Well, not that crossing, but that crossing down there has a hybrid bell. I might tour it in a second. And I think that is Center Street, I believe. And you can see a couple of cool little color light signals. And it eventually heads towards a diamond near Walnut Street and not Walnut Street. I keep forgetting what the road names are. My apologies. But yeah, I guess with all that said, this was the Tiffin Avenue railroad crossing here in Findlay, Ohio. Love to get this crossing in action sometime, but we're gonna be doing some waiting while we are here. So I guess with all that said, over and out.